Welcome. In front of me I have a Nokia 8.3 5G, and today I'll go over unboxing along with an overview of this phone. Now, starting off, this is the packaging it comes in. The one that I have right here, it's fairly beat up, as you can see, for some reason, but hopefully for you it will be actually in pristine conditions. So let's unpack it. There we go. It also looks like it has a sticker right over here, so let's cut it out. There we go. And voila, nothing in here, so drop it straight to the side, and right on front we got the phone. And it looks actually really nice the way it's presented. So let me just set it right over here. Some eject tool, obviously. Let's see what we got in here. Probably the cable and the charger, and also headphones. There's the charger as well. That's about it, nothing else in the box. Now, the headphones that come with this look really bad. Probably wouldn't be really using them, honestly. Then we got a Type-C cable right over here. There we go, so you can see it right over here. It's Type-C. Just slide it back on there. And then the charger. Typical, I would say, charger. Let's see, it is a 18-watt charger. Hopefully you can see it. It's basically right as the last thing right over here. So 18 watts. Set it up here. Then in here, paperwork, so basically nothing else. Again, I just drop that again to the side. Now this looks kind of weird for a brand new device. This doesn't really seem too great. Looks like it's already been opened for some reason. As you can see, the glue kind of already used up. So that's a little bit odd. Let's just open it up. And just like get it out through here, maybe. There we go. So in here we got our phone, and the phone at least looks like it's in pristine condition. So yeah, let's power it on. Now this is a fairly big phone, honestly, bigger than I expected. If I actually can compare it to a Mate 20 Pro, which certainly feels a little bit smaller, and well, it is definitely smaller. So here's the comparison of a Mate 20 Pro, which is kind of being dwarfed by this phone. And in terms of, like, so you can see the sheer size difference between these phones. So this is a fairly big phone. Okay, so while I'm going through the setup, I will touch upon the specifications of this. So it does come with a 6.81 inch display. It's a LCD IPS display with a 1080p resolution, more precisely 1080 by 2400, and that is 386 pixels per inch, so fairly, I would say, average display for 2020. Most of the phones do have around 400 pixels per inch, and this one approaches it, so it is basically the norm, I would say. And also we have 82.9% screen to body ratio. Again, fairly nice. You do have a fairly substantial chin right here, as you can clearly see it, where they did have to somehow slap the Nokia logo on here, as you can see at the light. So, you know, you're not confused about what phone you're using. Now, personally, I would have liked to see it smaller and remove that logo there. I don't really care for it. But other than that, they did manage to make at least the top of it without the notch. and only drop a hole punched camera right here, which isn't necessarily that bad. Although the top bezel, it is a little bit bigger than I would say I'm used to. As you can see, it does kind of take a little bit more space than, in my opinion, it should. But then it just comes down to the design. And I'm mentioning these tiny little things because this device comes at around $600, and for that price you can get things like Xiaomi phone, for instance the Poco, like Poco, what is it, F3 or something like that. I don't exactly remember their names, which will be, I would say, better phones. They offer more and they basically cost as much, so they also look better. That's kind of why I'm mentioning it. But other than that, we can move on to the camera, and on here we've got quad camera setup. Flip it over so you can see it right over here. And as you can see, also there's the Zeiss branding, which I just smudged up. So yeah, we have a 64 megapixel wide sensor, which is the main shooter. We also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide and also two useless sensors. So we have obviously the beloved 2 megapixel macro and 2 megapixel depth. Because why would you go around making a $600 phone with two useless sensors? I mean, they have to brag about something that your phone has 4 cameras instead of 2. It just doesn't sound so good. For $600 phone to have only 2 cameras. I genuinely hate this manufacturing scheme where they will include more sensors even though you won't use them at all, because the depth sensor just breaks the photos and it just genuinely makes it look worse, while the macro lens is usually outperformed by the main sensor. So like I said, those two sensors are usually useless and they're only there as a way to, I don't know, advertise the phone that it's better, because we value our phone based on the amount of cameras, apparently, based on what they think. They meaning the manufacturer of this device. Now, just to be fair, Nokia isn't the only one that is doing it. It's basically everybody, and I hate on everybody equally here because it's just crap. But yeah, moving on to the cameras themselves. Let's open up the camera, let's bring our plant in and capture a couple photos. So it looks like, oh no, it didn't go to macro. Okay, so that's good. So this is gonna be the macro. Okay, so first one that we will see is the macro shot, and it looks awful. It looks, apart from the resolution being fairly okay, the shot itself is just garbage. It's atrocious. While the 64 megapixel did an okay job. This is the non-macro, this is the main sensor, while this that's supposed to capture good close-up photos did just this terrible over-sharpened blurry mess that I would not bestow upon my worst enemy. Well, this one came out okay. It's nothing really mind-blowing, but it's still decent. For a 64 megapixel that it wasn't designed for this purpose, it most certainly outperforms the 2 megapixel that shouldn't even be on this phone. So yeah, don't use that sensor. It's completely useless. Now, while this is useless, let's also see how useless is the depth sensor, which for the most part, it's trash. But maybe Nokia did some kind of magic where it actually works fine. I doubt it, but let's try it. Hello, phone, there we go. For some reason just lagged out. So I am in portrait right now because portrait uses the depth sensor. And ooh, what is this? What? So overly, the main subject right here, which is the plant, it almost follows the same scheme as the macro, where it's over sharpened for some reason. Just a normal photo came out okay. This is still using the 64 megapixel lens along with the the depth sensor, and it just makes the photo look trash. Oh, wow, no, what is that? Do you see this like line right here? So as you've seen on just the 64 pixel, there was no such a thing. The photo looked okay. Here, we're using 2 lenses instead of 1, and I might just throw up. This has got to be the worst I have seen on any price range. Literally the worst. Now, it is primarily up to a software, so there is a chance that this will be fixed, but at this moment it's just garbage. It's trash. There's no way to compare it. So you can see the blurriness that shouldn't even be there. The distinct cutout, which 2 megapixels certainly couldn't handle. So yeah, try to just literally stay away from the portrait mode. As you can see, that is using the portrait mode. The normal photo mode will not use this. It will only use the 64 megapixel, which at that point, I can even show you once more, with just the photo mode, no portrait. And the photos come out okay. They are okay. That being said, let me quickly show you. So this is just a normal photo mode, and as you can see, there is no weird blurriness right here, and overly the sharpness, apart from me just taking a crappy photo right now, it did come out okay. There's no glaring problems with it. So just try not to ever use the portrait, because it's completely not worth it. You will literally lose a photo rather than gain a good one. So stay away from that one. So like I said, 2 useless sensors, so we only have 2 sensors to begin with. And also let's flip it over to the selfie camera, which is a 24 megapixel wide sensor, and quickly see how it performs, which, looking right now, it does look okay. So this is the 24 megapixel sensor. It did okay job, I would say. Yeah, I don't have problems with this one. It's okay. But yeah, the 2 other sensors that I mentioned, the macro and depth, are garbage, and honestly, if I would have this phone, I'll literally tape those sensors up so I never mistakenly use them. So yeah. Now that being said, we can move on to the actual specifications of this device, and it does come with a Snapdragon 765G, which, well, obviously makes it a 5G capable phone. So you do have the connectivity to 5 gigahertz or 5G. It does also have 2 variants. So you have the 64 storage and 6 gigabyte RAM, and you also have the 128 gigabyte storage and 8 gigabyte RAM. And it is expandable via SD card. So if you need more storage, but you want a cheaper version of this device, then you should go for the 64 and just slap an SD card in there, which from there you can just take it out whenever you need to get a new phone or something like that, because you don't need more than 6 gigabytes of RAM, I would say, on the device, on a smartphone, especially at a mid-range Snapdragon. And also, it does have a 4500 mAh battery, which is smaller than I would expect. Honestly, for the size of this device, I would have expected to be at least 5000. I literally reviewed a different phone at a smaller form factor, smaller price, and it came out with a 6000 mAh battery. Well, this one not only manages to not give you a big battery, it also manages to give you a slower charging of 18 watts. So a little bit of a disappointment here. Now, to the benefit of it, it does come with an NFC, so you can use the phone to pay for stuff and store with it. It does have a 3.5mm audio jack. Obviously, you would expect it with the size that this device has to include this jack. So you can see it right at the bottom right here, along with the USB Type-C and the speakers and microphone. Along on the top, another microphone. We do have a, not really sure what that is. Oh, it's a Google Assistant button, apparently. We do also have a fingerprint sensor on the side, so it's dual as a power key. So you can use this to unlock your device, set up your fingerprint to it, and voila, you don't really need to put in a code. You just kind of use your thumb always to unlock it, and it will automatically read a fingerprint off of it and unlock it for you. So that's really nice. And apart from that, there's not much more to say. There's no extra stuff to it. It does have a fairly chunky, as you can see, fairly chunky camera right here. You can basically almost grab this, and when it's placed on the table, it doesn't really wobble. Tiniest bit, but it's I would say expectable, because the device isn't necessarily super flat. It does have a little bit of a rounded design, so that is probably what it's following. So even though the camera is protruding quite severely, it doesn't add to unnecessary wobble to it. And other than that, the device runs okay. It does have a literal stock version of Android, so no additional bloatware, and it's a fairly good experience, I would say, because of it. Now, things like OnePlus will do it better, in my opinion, because OnePlus includes additionally like stuff to customize it, but not a bloatware. Here we just got a bloatware free and no customizations, nothing extra, just typical Android experience. So this is something that you would see on things like the Google Pixels, but it's not a bad thing, I would say. If you're not really into customizing your device and just tweaking it to make it feel like your personal device, then you probably don't really care about this. I kind of do, but if I would have to pick I don't know, additionally pre-installed apps or customization, or with customization, or just this, I think I would go for just the super clean design right here. And lastly, like I said, the price, it comes around 500 euros or $600. And for this price, it is a little bit hard to swallow this price tag, to be honest. It seems a little bit overpriced in my opinion. I wouldn't consider this device to be worth that much. Maybe $400 would have been okay, max 500. Anything above that I wouldn't really call it great, because I can get better devices from things like Xiaomi, and a couple additional ones. Huawei is also one of those, but not everybody will be interested, and especially not everybody from the United States, considering Huawei is, well, banned there. But Xiaomi isn't. It also comes with Google services, and it will look and outperform this device, so that's kind of why I'm mentioning it primarily. So I wouldn't call this device worth the money, but at the end of the day, it really depends on you. If you want it, then, and if it's worth to you, then go right ahead and get it. But that being said, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.